I will train so hard that those around me think I am insane. I will push myself beyond my limits every day and refuse to let any obstacles stand in my way. I will work harder than everyone else. Through my relentless pursuit of perfection and strength, I will become unstoppable, and those who thought I was crazy will soon come to respect me. I will not rest until I have conquered everything in my path.
Babe! Babe! Yo, Jay, I promise you, nothing happened. Promise. This whole thing was a surprise for you.
We out of toilet paper.
Damn. This is melanated ink. Listen. Now, I'm here to break some things up. Angels, are you with me?
How much is full price, Leroy?
Let's just say it's $10 and a pack of mango swishes. You know I like it juicy, baby. Keep it juicy.
$100?
Yeah. You know, inflation is a bitch.
You feel me?
Oh, I feel you.
Can you get on with it?
I'm sorry. Who died and made you the Virgin Mary? Look, you sure you're in the right place? Because if not, I know of a place where you can go.
What it takes to go into the acting industry.
Yeah.
So when you came here, did you just reach out to different studios? How did you try out for shows, for movies? How did you get started once you landed here?
Yeah, no problem. So before I even moved to LA, I was already working back home in the Chicago film industry and television industry.
Okay.
So those 5 years when I was visiting, I was already doing shows like on Chicago Broadway back there. I was doing a lot of extra roles. Like at that time, like Empire was going, Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med. All of these shows were taking place in Chicago. So, along with building my own production company, which I started in 2015 in Chicago, I was also working in the industry there. So I knew that there was going to be a transition and there was going to be a shift coming to LA. Let's be honest, like no one knows me here. Like there was going to be a building from the ground up again. But what I did know and what I did keep in my heart was that I had my production company.
Yes.
And so regardless if, I didn't, I guess, quote unquote, get on first, I knew that I had the power and I had the audacity and I had, I guess, the overconfidence to say, okay, if I'm not getting necessarily into the rooms that I want to get in initially, I can create my own narrative.
All right, come on now.
So,
okay. Let's
be honest.
Yes.
It's for me taking the ownership of your story, taking the ownership of your calling, taking the ownership of wherever you feel like you are being drawn to. And so prior to me even moving to LA, God had given me not only what my first film would be, but what my first project would be once I moved here with my production company. So God had already sent me with that.
Okay.
And so once I got here, that's where my mind kind of focused and honestly helped me a lot with my mental, because those first few days, that first year can be very difficult for anyone who transitions, who relocates, who, picks up their life and moves to somewhere else.
Yes.
A different zip code, a different country. And so for me, I stayed true to what God showed me. Mm-hmm. God had gave me something and I was like, well, what am I going to do with it? So with establishing myself in Los Angeles, that was one of the first things that I was like, okay, God had already given me something. So let me work what he gave me, as well as like trying to figure out, okay, Where's my life? How am I gonna make my ends meet? Okay, how am I gonna, pay for rent? How am I gonna pay for my bills? How am I going to sustain a life?
Mhm.
And so for me, when I first got here, I just did a lot of writing.
There you go.
I was just pumping out scripts left and right, left and right, left and right. From there, I ended up getting a job in North Hollywood at this Black-owned restaurant. Shout out to Black Bottom. It was in NoHo, and so I worked there for a while. And then I want to say about a year and a half in, I ended up getting connected so that I could get work on my first show here, which was Ballers. And so from there, I started off as a PA, and I did a few other shows as a PA. And honestly, I just kind of kept growing and kept growing and kept getting this position and this position and this position. And from there, it just kept climbing.
And what is a PA for those who don't?
So a PA is a production assistant.
Okay. There you go.
A production assistant assists with like bringing everything together.
Yes.
Those are, sometimes the very first people that you see in the beginning of the day.
Yes.
Those are the people who may be taking their actors to their dressing room.
Yes.
They may be grabbing your food for the director, for, the producers, but they are a part of the team, and they are honestly the hands and labor on the front line of whatever you're trying to create.
I think that I heard our pastors, one of our pastors at 1LA, because we go to the same church.
Yes,
Shout
yes.
out to 1LA. Pastor Devon Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
He does talk about his time when he first came
mm-hmm.
to Los Angeles, and I don't know if it was a production assistant.
Mm-hmm.
He was?
Yeah.
He was a production assistant. So look at that. Look
PA.
at that. And look what he's doing now.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a big producer.
Yeah.
Okay, about to do a film with Tyler Perry.
Yeah, they have like a deal with Tyler Perry
and
Netflix.
Yes, and Netflix.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, this is so amazingly encouraging. Girl, the sky's the limit. I mean, you could even go beyond what anyone is doing, right? Because I think he also gave an example of somebody who he was working for when he first got here, and I guess he used to, not to say necessarily worship them, but he used to look up to them and stuff, and then God said to him, you're your own person. You're your own person.
Yeah.
So look beyond them. Don't try to be like them. And now he may be going higher, bigger than what they're doing, right? And not to say that you come here, you're looking, oh, I'm going to be better than so and so. Be your own person.
Hey, that's it.
Be authentic. Look for your own table, your own room, and build. That's how you get to know yourself, and you can listen here, little boy. You see me talking. Be good. So yeah, you could be your own person, do your own thing, and you begin to find out who you really are.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure that you begin to, in your climb, you begin to find out who you really were in that time, and you're still finding out who you are, and you're still moving. And that is exciting. Don't you think that that's exciting?
I think it's all of the big feelings. I think it's exciting. It can be nerve-wracking. You can feel anxious. You can have a lot of angst, a lot of anxiety, and there may be some fear attached to it depending on where you are in life, right? But I think that that's all a part of the climb. Yes. Like if the climb was only one emotion, would it be as exhilarating? Right. Would you feel like you have overcome something?
Right, because listen, even our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ went to the Garden of Gethsemane and was like, do you want to take this cup? Because
talk about it.
I know that, okay, it's your will, God, but if you really don't feel like make me down this cross, if you feel like it, so who are we to not, feel apprehensive sometimes, to feel all the big feelings, to feel all the emotions, and that's all a part of finding out who we are. Right. So we are here in Los Angeles, and we are working at various studios.
Mm-hmm.
And you met various celebrities. You've worked with various celebrities,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounds like Angela, you're one of the faves. But what was your thought process with working with celebrities when you came here? Was it kind of like fangirl, or do you just see them like a person? But I believe you used to work with them from Chicago anyway, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like your first time.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, no. And then also, like, like I said, I'm an alum of Howard
There you
University.
go.
So, who the world may deem celebrities, they're like our brothers and sisters at Howard.
Yes,
You know what I
yes,
mean?
yes.
So for us, like I was fortunate enough to, be in classes with, the amazing and wonderful Felicia Rashad coming and visiting. One of my professors, may he rest in peace, was Albert Freeman.
Mhm.
I've had a chance to be a part of workshops with Debbie Allen,
Mhm.
see Taraji P. Henson. So, these are people that the world may deem, and rightly so, because of their talent, celebrities and these amazing and phenomenal icons. Absolutely. However, at Howard, one of the things that, they teach us is it's about the work,
Mhm.
right? And so for me, absolutely, yes. Do I have people that their talent is so mesmerizing and it is so bold and fearless, and I am in awe of that? Absolutely,
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
Whatsoever.
Mhm.
But for me, when it comes to work, I'm always looking to work with excellence. And
There you
before
go.
I take on any job, before I take on any show, before I work with anyone, I'm always thinking, okay, am I being drawn here? Am I the person for the job? And what is my why? Because
There you go.
at the end of the day, those late nights, those early mornings, those putting out fires, honey, when it gets to that, okay, you doing 16, 17, 18 hours on set, celebrity who? Celebrity what? Okay, at the end of the day, I'm looking, and at the end of the morning, I'm looking at, I want to date with my pillow.
Mhm. So you gotta want it because all the hoopla can get old real fast.
Absolutely, and everyone is human, right? Like there's a amazing actor. She's from Africa, but she's like, your Yash is the same as their Yash, right? Like the same way that you go to the restroom is the same way that they go to the restroom.
I love
The
it.
same way you gotta blow your nose is the same way they gotta blow their nose. Okay.
Yash.
Yeah, listen, I'm just saying, but it's
I love
real, like
Yeah.
sometimes we put celebrities and people who have phenomenal talent, whether it's in acting, whether it's film, TV, athletes, right? We put their talent on a pedestal, and rightly so, for those who are working hard, who are developing. Absolutely, the GOATs. Yes, but at the end of the day, guess what? They're feeling the same type of emotions you feeling. Okay, if somebody from their family get a diagnosis, you can imagine the type of emotions and feelings that they may be feeling. The same thing that you would be feeling if somebody in your family got a diagnosis. And so for me, absolutely, it is also a point in time to learn and grow.
Hey.
Right? Because if you have access to that type of mastery, for me, why wouldn't you take it and be like, oh, okay, I see the mechanics of how they do this. And that is also how you develop your own like creative identity. That is how you develop your own creative strategy when you maybe attack something. You may learn something new that you never even thought to consider. But iron sharpens iron.
There you go. There you go. And
so if I'm coming to the job as a fan, I don't need to be at the job. I need to be in the audience.
In the audience, okay, because you're there to work, and you're there to serve. As you say, you're there to work. You're there to serve. You're there not to shine the light on yourself, but
the project, the purpose.
The project, and you're part of the team. And when they say there's no I in team.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt.
Yeah. The party scene here, I was telling someone, is very high. I mean, we can hear what's going on in the roof right now. But the party scene is very high. And nothing wrong with partying. I'm all about having a good time. But one can really get sidetracked by a lot of that, getting caught up I'm gonna tell on myself. I was cracking up yesterday on social media. Up pops up all these dating sites. I'm like, what is happening on my For You page? Like, I'm
Not
like,
your
how
algorithms.
many like okay, I saw one. I kind of looked at it because I've never. It was interesting the way they presented it, and I really don't do well with dating apps. It's just like, first of all, I get anxiety. Like even when I'm talking to someone, I'm like, I just get anxiety. I feel like I want to meet someone authentically. Like I want to meet you, like just casually. Like, hey, we run into each other, whether it be church, work, the building, whatever, and we talk. We get to know each other, and then it builds. You know, I feel like the dating apps almost like a forced love. Like I'm meeting with this person because I'm gonna, force my mind to think that we could possibly work out. So it just seems unauthentic to me. But that's not to say that it's not for anyone. But I found myself just going through answering the questions.
Yeah.
And I was like, this dating app must be from California, because it said, would you date someone who has not had a juice cleanse? I was like, what?
That's what we're using as a yardstick of whether or not we want to date. Like that. Oh, okay. Okay.
I was like, what?
All right.
What did the staff just ask me? Would you date someone? So tell me, B MOR, would you date someone?
First of all, whoever God you send to me, because I am single. God, whoever you send to me, I'm open. Jesus, listen, okay? It ain't got to be in the package that I ever thought, because in my little childhood mind, okay, who I thought I was going to end up with. Lord, your little celebrity crushes when you're younger, in the boy bands, the actors.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's hilarious and hysterical.
Excuse me, but have you had
a juice cleanse?
What?
Because I feel like if you go to the East Coast, they're gonna be like, a juice cleanse. What's that? That is absolutely hysterical.
So hard. I was like, what did this actress ask me right now? Would you date someone who has not had a juice cleanse? I was like, you know what? This is an LA-based app, because it ain't no way. And on any other app I've seen.
Who was at the table that decided on these questions? I just want to know.
I can see, like, let's put a juice cleanse in there, because, like, he has to have one.
It's the whole character for me. It tapped in.
Put me in one of your
It tapped in. Okay.
Wow. Like, what is really going on right now? I am like, maybe this is not the app for me, because I can already tell the mindset.
Listen, and no shade to people who like juice cleanses, because I like a good juice cleanse too. Now, is that a prerequisite for me to talk to you? That's a whole nother conversation.
No.
So don't be bashing, out there and coming on the site, because we know how y'all do. Don't be coming underneath the comments of the podcast like, well, I like a juice kid. Listen, baby. If you want to take me on a juice first date, I'm open, okay? Now, I hope it's a meal that comes after that juice. But I'm saying, like, I'm open. You want to go hiking and then we do a juice, I'm cool. Yeah. Good with a smoothie.
Yeah. I mean, teach me, boo. Teach me. Let's go back to is it a school or studio that you have that you train? I saw something with children. You were training up children, and there were some testimonials from little ones.
Yeah. So I have two companies. I have B MOR Productions, which is the production side of things. So the short films that I've done, the films, the documentaries that I've done, those are produced underneath my own production company. So that's more of like the traditional kind of media, content creation, that type of thing. And then I also have B MOR Studios, which is basically the educational component of the industry. And so the way that I look at it is like for B MOR Productions, our motto is don't be ordinary, be more. And then for B MOR Studios, our theme, our focus is building the bold storyteller in you.
Wow.
And so for me, B MOR Studios was always kind of a part of the DNA of B MOR Productions, because anytime it's a B MOR production set. You're going to have like interns, you're going to have apprentices, you're going to have where there's a learning component where you're working with people who are considered masters or are considered like, you know, proficient people of the entertainment industry, whether that's in crew, whether that's in casting, whether that is in the actual cast. However, for me, I saw a void in, okay, well, what about people who don't necessarily do traditional film school or go the traditional route of like even, you know, being a film major or, you know, being any type of major in the arts? What about people, you know, who need to learn different skill sets? And so that for me is where B MOR Studios took place. And I realized that, you know, there are a lot of people who want to learn and just need access. And for me, that was the void of it. And so a lot of probably what you saw were some of the students that I've worked with right now. We're in 2 colleges here in Los Angeles, working with people who are storytellers and trying to navigate their own path, whether that means that they are at the point of being like a screenwriter, or if they are being an actor, or, you know, or if they are looking to go into animation, right? Whatever the medium is, the core is storytelling. And so that is a lot of the work that we do, and a lot of what I feel like is honestly like, I feel like the next chapter of the entertainment industry. You know, we're seeing a lot of that, of people who are not necessarily going what may have been considered the traditional route, right? Like I went to college, absolutely. However, when it comes to producing, I didn't necessarily go to school for producing, right? I picked up a lot of those things. And so for me, I would hope that in the work that we do with B MOR Studios, a lot of the students that we work with won't have to fall into a lot of the pit holes or the pitfalls that I had to fall into, right? You know, and I just think about, man, if somebody would have shared this with me, or, you know, maybe gave me this tidbit of information or wisdom, or just honestly been very honest in their journey, that could have made me be made a little bit more efficient in some areas. You know, it would have allowed for me to not feel so much of like a failure in certain moments, because it's like, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
You know, but that's also just, I think, a part of just my DNA of service, of like, let's bring up the people that are behind us, or the people that are also coming up, because we are stronger together.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Each one teach one, they said. And you know, that's good that you have that mindset, because you know, we know that some people can be gatekeepers. Like once they learn something, they're not gonna share it with anyone. And you know, when you share with others, it's like running a race at the Olympics.
Yeah.
All right. And we need storytellers.
Absolutely.
So you're running your race and you're passing on the baton to someone else who is running their race, and will pass it on to someone else in kind. So that's amazing. I pray that God blesses your production company,
Thank
your school, and it's just so amazing at your young age, because she's young. At your young age, that you're having a studio in schools and colleges.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like certain people wouldn't even dream to have that. You know, like wow, that's amazing. I really commend you. That is such an audacious accomplishment.
Thank you.
And so I want you to break down for the folks like me that don't know the different roles in putting a movie set together. So you have I heard you talk about the PA, because then, you know, they could be like, I feel like I could do that role. Let me go off for that role, right? So you talk about a PA, like, okay, somebody comes, a writer comes to you with a script. And you know, it's like, I would love to have this movie produced. Yeah. What are the roles, and what are the processes?
Yeah, so I'll go over some of the different roles, and I'll break it up into what I would consider like the major 3 phases, which the first phase is usually development, right? That is, you know, you're getting your story together, you know, that can also be somewhat considered, well, I'll do 4 phases. So development is getting your story together, right? Like making sure that, you know, if it is a film, using that as an example, your script is together, like it makes sense, I would advise sharing it with someone to read over that you're comfortable with, right? So that, you can get different perspectives to make sure that it's as strong of a story as it can be, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a formal 3-act structure, right? But it should be a beginning, middle, and end. And I always say, that's the part of the process where everything that's in your head is written out on paper and somebody else can understand.
Yes.
Because if it's only understood to you, then you may only be making a film for yourself. And if that's your prerogative, okay, if that is your MO, then listen, all power to you, right?
One woman show, nobody else gets it. It's just
listen, it's just for you.
Yeah.
However, I do believe that art and creativity is supposed to be shared, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that development phase is really hunkering down on the story, making sure it's as strong as it can be. Then the next phase, which would be phase 2, would be, I would say, the pre-production phase. That's where you're building and putting the team together. Mm-hmm. That's like where I'm a big sports fan. I come from a big sports family. So that's when like the coach is then putting the team together and who's going to play what position and, how can we make sure that it's the best team possible, right? So that is a lot of when your producer will come in. They may come in the development phase as well, outside of the screenwriter or the writer. But the producer comes in and almost comes in to make sure that they're hiring all of the people that will be needed to make the story, sync and come together. So that includes your set designer, the person who was designing the actual set, the world of the show, right? That's when your location people come in, your location managers, where they will be scouting the actual locations you will be filming at. You don't just pick a random location and say, oh, we shooting here. There are things that need to take place, right? There may be permits that are needed. There may be tours that you need to go on and know, okay, how do we, shoot this spot? Because if we shoot at 10 a.m., the sun may be in this direction. That may not make sense for the type of scene we're shooting. Maybe we need to push this to 6 p.m. when the sun is almost in setting, because that is what is called for in the story and the script.
Wow, that's a lot of details.
It is. So, that's where, your production coordinator comes in. They work with the administrative side of things, your costumers, your designers, hairstylists, makeup, that's when they get a chance to add their creative touch to the story, right? So they'll take the script, what has already been written, and say, okay, these are some of the looks that we think the character should have, and the evolution of the looks throughout the actual film, right? In the beginning of the film, for example, we think the character should wear more lighter colors, right? Because it is a sense of freshness or naivete that gravitates towards those pastel colors. Towards the middle, the character may be going through some, emotional turmoil. We may be getting close to the climax, right? Now their color palette has transitioned to darker colors to show maybe maturity. And then towards the end, it may be a different color, but these are things that, all of the creative collaborators get a chance to be a part of, right? So then we move on to the third phase, right? I said there was 4. The third phase, which is production, that's putting the actual film together. So now that's where you're working the work. The cast has already been casted. You have all the players in there. You got your PAs who are ready. They know what they're doing, and you are actually shooting the film. And then the fourth phase is what I would call like post-production. So that's when a whole nother team comes on and actually put the clips in the film together. That's your editors, right? That's when you're adding your sound effects, right? And then post after that would be like, your marketing and where will it live? Are you going to submit it to film festivals? Are you going to, do a big screening for it? Are you going to try to get a distribution deal where then they would take it and maybe pitch it to different streaming sites that may want to buy it? So I would say in kind of short form, those are the different phases, some of the jobs that are needed in terms of like if you wanted to create, whether it's a feature length film or even just a short film.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of steps. How do you connect with needing
similarities, man.
Woo! It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when, like, you know, and Taraji P. Henson talked a lot about this during the recent like marketing for The Color Purple last year, when she talked about, you know, people of color and women of color and actors who are not being compensated fairly, which also was a lot of a part of the negotiations that took place with the strikes last year as well, with SAG-AFTRA. When, you know, you aren't able to be compensated fairly and you are bringing so much to the table. And not only that, the work speaks for itself. The success speaks for itself. It then becomes a very daunting experience